outdoor, limited people masked bird walks for families, so the kids in K4 who haven't ever met each other in person could actually get to know each other in person. So that was requested by the parents to try to have some of that for those families that chose to participate. Jill Cohen and I are in the middle of a very elaborate NWEA analysis so that I can tell you something about the question that I keep being asked. It echoes the question you asked earlier, Carrie, about, what are we seeing in terms of COVID slide, COVID impact, COVID learning loss? There's a lot of different words for it. We are taking a look at the data from a number of different perspectives, and what I'm hoping to have for the December meeting is the patterns that we're seeing, and where are we seeing things for concern, and where are we seeing things not as bad as we anticipated, because we are already seeing both of those things. So I'll bring to the board as much as we can get out of this data. All we have is fall to fall. So it's different than what I've reported on before, but I'll bring that report fully to you in December. Our performance reports on federal grants were submitted by the deadline, just so that you know. Substantial approval is on both applications, so we're all set for our federal Title I, II, and IV right now. CRF funds, obviously the Virtual Academy program does not have its own CRF funds because it's not a school, and the kids are enrolled in the different local schools, and the local schools have been great about helping so that we can not only pay salaries, that was our CRF one, but now so that we can pay for these enrichment activities, and we can pay for upping the technology requirements of the different classrooms in the schools where 8th graders are trying to beam in. We spoke with 8th grade parents, we spoke with 8th grade teachers, and we spoke with 8th graders who are attending school virtually. The 9 of them, I think 7 out of the 9 showed up to the conversation. And we'll be, it was really great to have that sort of 360 discussion to figure out how we can do this better. So right now our 8th graders are beaming into their live classes. And so we're just trying to figure out what makes sense for them to do and what doesn't make sense for them to do. How can we enhance sound? How can we help the teachers to set up the classroom in a way that will be easier for them to orchestrate? How can we purchase technology you can take outside in case the kids go outside to do something? So we're working on all of that. And I want to give a shout out to Josh because he's been very, very helpful with all of that. One of the things that came out of the Safe Return to School subcommittee on social and emotional health was just to keep prioritizing health and wellness. So I just want to update the board on the things that we're doing around that. We have about 30 people who are participating with Lana Penley on a self-care for educators 4-part series. We've been circulating other opportunities for our staff. The health and wellness ambassadors are up and running, and we have people who are at each school who are taking responsibility for that program. Mark and I are now doing an investigation of what does our insurance actually provide for mental health benefits, what is Acadia Family Center going to be able to support, and what does the hospital provide, so that we can be sharing all that information with our staff. Slightly related, we're going to be doing a parent support series, which of course will be open to staff as well. And I'll have more information on that soon. We're working on securing the speakers, and we're hoping to do it once a month for the next 6 months. We're also working with Jackson Lab. They offered with the hospital to do another education session for staff. So they're trying to figure out when that can happen soon. We did one several months ago that was very well received. Staff was able to submit questions, and we'll be able to do that again. And Jackson Lab has also offered to do some recorded, live attended, virtual, recorded also, sessions about COVID for middle school students and for high school students. So I'm working with the principals and with Matt to figure out what's the best way to do that so that kids have the best access to it and can ask questions. Our admin retreat will be a week from tomorrow, November 17th, and we will be working on our annual report for you all, which we'll have for you in December. And as the Title IX coordinator and affirmative action officer for the district, I attended 6 hours over 4 days of boot camp training for the new Title IX regulations, so that I can be a resource and look at the policies that we're looking at redoing and all of those pieces. I know I mentioned some concerns last time. I still have those concerns after going through the training. I also don't know, given the probable change in administration, whether there will be further changing of those rules. So as of right now, we are obligated to adopt the policies and guidelines that are in line with the Title IX new regs. And it is a 14-part process that if the Office of Civil Rights comes on here, they're going to want to see every single part of that 14 parts followed for every single case that gets filed. And there are positive aspects to that, and then there are some aspects that are not as positive, in my personal opinion. That's it.
Does anyone have questions?
No,
Julie?
sorry.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks.
Next, we have updates from subcommittees. I don't think we really have an update on policy since we had an update last time. We have a bunch of policies to take action on tonight. So I'm going to move on to Ingrid. Do you want to do an update on the district structure review committee?
So we have a meeting scheduled for November 17th, and the group is consisting of Lily from Bar Harbor, Carrie from Tremont, Gary from Trenton, Tammy from the Outer Islands, myself, Charlie Ray, who was a school board member for a long time, and Mark and Nancy when needed. And I have asked, so I sent out the documents to that group that we kind of, those of us that have been around a while, have seen for the last couple of years. And asked Mark to have his team in the central office create a list of the big items that this district structure makes burdensome for the central office. So we're planning on kind of coming to that first meeting, having read all the information and a list of what we think our communities are gonna wanna preserve that is currently in our structure. We'll take that list that Matt's gonna give us of challenges that we have, and we'll try to create something that addresses those items. I'm hoping that process will maybe take us 2 meetings, and then we'll have some kind of a draft that we can send off to Bruce Smith at Drummond Woodsum. And then I'm sure he'll be like, yeah, no, yes, that's okay, we'll play with it again, and then bring something back to you all. I'm hoping by January.
Okay. Great.
It's gonna be a fast timeline.
Needs to be.
Yes.
We've been doing this for 20 years.
It totally needs
Talking
to
about it.
So,
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
running with that. All right, Mark, action items. Consideration of authorization for superintendent to approve bids for resources obtained with Corona relief funds, CRF reference policy, DJ bidding/purchasing requirements.
So, one thing I want to be really cognizant of we talked about CRF funds, and the question was, the high school has almost $800,000 or somewhere in the order of $800,000. That's a lot of money. But we also have policies that we have to follow. We have to follow them because, A, they are policies, so we don't have a choice. B, the law says we have to. C, we got to balance the books, our auditors. But we're in a time right now that with the use of these funds, we do have some latitude should the board allow us that latitude. So I have a proposal for you, and I quote for this policy. And this is only specific to the period of time we're in now and with the use of Corona relief funds. So I'd like to read this quick clause. It says, under policy DJ, section 2, bidding purchasing not required by law. The superintendent may forego the competitive bid or RFP process for purchases less than $2,500, or when he or she determines that quality, expertise, time factors, or other important considerations outweigh the possible benefits of bidding or requesting proposals. In each such case, the board shall be informed of the superintendent's decision and the reasons for it in advance of entering into a contract. I don't know, it's the first pandemic I ever been through in my life, so I think they're unprecedented times. Secondly, the window that we have to apply for and expend these funds is just incredible. So I want to honor the process, but I'd like to respectfully request the board consider, because it's a policy, that the AOS board consider that we suspend this portion of the policy only and specific to Corona relief funds and only during this period of time. We are not going to be bypassing the voucher process or the approval process in any way, shape, or form in any of our schools. This is just specific to CRF funding.
Mark, when you say this period of time, can we consider it for this fiscal year, and then if it has to be renewed, because we're going through it again, do that, or?
I would appreciate that being for the rest of this fiscal year, but again, my recommendation would be just for use of Corona relief funds, because I do not want any school or any entity to be bypassing that RFP process, or when we're using local budgets, we will continue to follow those guidelines. Is that clear, Heather?
Yep.
Any questions on that from any of the board members? The reason, again, I'm asking for the AOS board to consider this, it's not going to tie the hands of local boards, but all of our policies are single sets of policies. So that's why I bring this. And if this is approved, and I hope it will be, it'll make life a lot easier for Nancy and for our principals, and we'll still be able to follow through the guidelines. And also, the sanctity of the process is that we have to make sure that we go through a very rigorous application and then reconciliation on CRF funds. And obviously, insofar as possible, we are trying very, very hard to work with local vendors and local companies because we know that that's a win-win for our economy and for our families. Nancy, anything to add to that?
Any questions, Carrie?
I assume that the CRF policies that you're following don't have any kind of stipulations about bidding out, or that this would circumvent.
Not that I'm aware of, Carrie, and Nancy, jump in if I misspeak, but I think the short answer is no, because if they did, there's no way that anybody could meet that timeline. It would be impossible.
Yeah.
Marie?
So the threshold was like twofold. It was like up to 2,500 and any other one, or so that was confusing because it's either all of them or it's up to 25, but I didn't understand. Or maybe I didn't hear.
So for purchases of less than 2,500, or when the superintendent determines. So in this instance, I'm saying
Time.
0 right on up to with CRF funds only.
Any other questions? Anybody want to take a stab at a motion? Well, do you want to take a stab?
Sure.
I move that we authorize our superintendent to spend, per as written, to spend funds given as grant. Hold on, I gotta
Are
get
we
it back.
actually- I think what we're actually doing is, we're not actually authorizing him to spend the funds. What we're doing is do you have language that you, okay. We're
Yes, sir.
actually saying that we're not following this, or within this policy, he can utilize that component of,
Do you want me to
Yeah.
read something up?
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
that's someone else for you.
What's
Go
that?
ahead.
The superintendent may forego the competitive bid or RFP process based upon time constraints related to expenditure of COVID relief funds
For this fiscal.
Yeah,
for
that.
the current fiscal year. For the current fiscal year.
Kate,
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Carrie, okay.
Nancy, but does that sound okay?
It was Kate and Terry. All right, any questions? All right, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, nay? Those unanimous. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, now, I have the second reading and consideration of revisions to the policies listed below. Well, if you're looking at your agenda, there's 5 policies that we did a first reading at our last meeting. And now we do our second reading and take action.
There was some homework, I know members of the policy committee, so we did work with Selena. Julie mentioned the trainings she's going through to make sure that there was alignment with our current policies and the cross-reference, so that work's been completed. And so what you have before you is our recommendation at this time. Or there's no change from the recommendation we made from the first reading that the board did. The board approves, this would put us into compliance with the regulations that came into effect, the federal regulations that came into effect in August.
I move to approve the slate.
Thanks, Sue.
Second.
And Ingrid. All right, any questions? All in favor? Aye. Those opposed, nay? So that was Susan and Ingrid. Did you get that?
Yes.
Susan and Ingrid and unanimous.
Susan,
Alan?
thank you.
Do we have any other business?
Yes.
We do.
Real quick, information, parents and community members that get their messaging on delays, cancellations, and weather, inclement weather. Really important that they update or make sure they're getting their school messenger communications, and if they're not, please contact the school. We can walk you through that. I get a report and I get a bounce back sometimes. I'm just worried that some people may not have access to the information. And we still update the website, we still do the radio stations and all that, but you can get the first and latest and greatest by school messenger. So that's out there in the protocols. And this is something for people to keep in mind too, just a reminder, this came out from the state. People were asking about, well, what happens, if we exceed numbers of snow days, or how's that all work? And this is language sent from the commissioner's office. Waivers exist currently for required student days until January 15th, or 30 days after the end of the state of the emergency. It's really important for folks to know that there's going to be a lot of latitude, whether it's weather-related or in other areas, from the state. Snow days can be provided and counted as a school day if lunch is provided. And so it goes on to give guidance, but I just want to make sure folks know we have that flexibility also. The last thing I have is public service can sometimes be a thankless job, but we're really lucky to have the board members that we have. And we're certainly lucky to have the continuity that we've had. So I want to recognize a couple of people. This is from the Maine School Board Association. I'll do these first because they're not here. But our friends from Swans Island, what's really impressive is Tammy Triplett. It's a school board service award. So If anybody's eligible for one of these beautiful documents, let me know, because I don't want to leave anybody out. But it's through the Maine School Board Association, and this is being presented to Tammy Tripler of the Swans Island Board in recognition of 17 years of service. And this also is another board member out on Swans Island, Richie Davis. Richie, 16 years of service. And then right here in our midst, we have our own Heather Jones for 13 years of service.
Thank
you, Heather.
you.
And Ingrid Cashmar right behind with 12 years of service. So congratulations, thanks you guys. And I know if we added up in totality all the years, the time you guys give, it's just absolutely incredible and amazing. We are so lucky to have you. And especially in these tough times, the support that you've given us is just amazing. So thank you. Thanks for continuing to show up, and thank you for everything you're doing for our teachers, our kids, and our communities. It really means a lot during these uncertain times.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Any other public comment? On future agenda items, we have the approval of administrative review of consolidated NDIR AOS emergency response plan.
Mhm.
And then, Julie, you had said the NWEA report.
Yeah, the December.
Okay, yep.
And the annual report of administrators will be December as well.
Okay. And budget. So. Okay, and then, yes, Marie.
I'm wondering, I know we met Dan on Zoom for like 4 seconds, like ages ago, but I wonder if there is an opportunity, if we can predict a light board meeting night. I don't know what that looks like, I know, maybe it's tonight, shoot. But we could maybe see him in person and hear a little bit about what he's doing. I'm sure, I think when you guys came up, or, we came up with this need, we didn't even know how much we really would have these, even more needs right now. So I don't know, I'd be really interested in hearing what that position is doing right now, and just hear, like a broad brush of what he's seeing, and what he's working on.
I think you probably would want both of them.
Yeah, we'll have Dan and Stephanie,
Yeah,
because we get the new
I
one
think,
too.
the second person kind of stuck by me, I don't think I ever even, had she introduced
She's at the
herself?
Acadia Family Center,
Okay.
Stephanie.
Yeah, that one, maybe I missed that one too, but I do.
I don't think she's been introduced.
She
yet.
hasn't.
Okay, yeah, then that's why. So,
Yeah.
yeah, both, everybody.
They're both really wonderful.
Yeah, it'd be great to just have a quick,
Thank you, Marie, that's a good idea. And then Carrie?
I know at the Tremont meeting that we had last week, we started to talk about looking into maybe an upgrade to the school in addition. And so one of the things that I think that really depends on is where our conversations are with the middle school. And I know nobody wants to get into big projects like that right now with what's going on with COVID, but I feel like it's something we have to keep talking about. Can we start looking again at what the next steps are on that?
Yeah, yes.
Bar Harbor's in the same boat?
Right. And, I saw this happen 20, 25 years ago on this island where all the schools hit a breaking point and started rebuilding on additions. And then that killed any conversation of doing something together. So I hate to see us go down that road again and,
Well,
just
your window
tie our
is,
hands that
your
way.
window is here,
Right,
and that window will close for another 20, 25 years.
exactly.
Let's talk and.
Sure.
Okay,
can we also just confirm too, like, all the towns voted,
yeah, that's,
and they all wanted us to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
So, we should probably,
Okay.
it's the right time.
thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, next meetings, we just listed out a series of meetings, because it's budget season, and so I just wanted everybody to get these things penciled in on their calendar. We haven't slotted a time for any of these, so just put it on your calendar. My guess is Monday, November 23rd, we're probably looking at a 5 or 5:30 mark.
Yes.
So that meeting is for what?
That is solely budget, AOS budget. And I mean, maybe we can throw in one of these other items too, you know, if Dan or Stephanie can come. Then the Monday, December 14th, is our regular AOS meeting, but I'm sure we'll have budget in there. And then Monday, January 11th is the annual meeting.
So what is that?
And I know, what does that mean for high school? Because that's typically,
We do the high school meeting first,
Just
and then do the budget.
Sure.
The annual meeting.
Yeah, if that works for you guys.
I mean, we typically have, actually, if you think about it, we really, because that's the cake meeting.
Yeah, it is.
So we have, that's the cake meeting.
Well,
Okay.
that's all right. You'll have cupcakes this year.
But
I was gonna say.
we have done the back-to-back. We have done high school and AOS, yeah. And then Monday, February 1st, is the annual public budget meeting.
Right,
And that's usually around 7 o'clock, isn't it?
yes.
What was the date?
Monday, February 1st.
Oh, okay, it's in the same side.
And then we'll have the 11th at 5.
Probably not. I mean, because that's our typical meeting date anyway. I think probably high school will be at 5 and then we'll follow. So depending upon how big their agenda is, we'll schedule that. And I don't have anything else, do you, Mark?
No, I do not.
I will take a motion to adjourn. Oh, that's why you asked Susan. Sorry, I forgot there's 2 Susans now. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Nay. Thank you, everybody. That was quick. That was under an hour.
Nancy?
Sorry, it's a